Are you looking for the best clear wood finish? You're trying to decide which is best for your particular project? By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of all clear wood finishes. You'll know which is best for this particular project and for future projects. And you'll know more than the average paint store clerk. I'm here to make things simple. I won't be promoting any products. In fact, by the end of this video, you'll be able to intelligently select a sale product and save yourself some time and money, and you'll get a great finish. Stay tuned. Hey guys, I'm Paul. I'm a woodworker. I've been a woodworker for 40 plus years. Today I want to talk to you about finishing your project. I want to talk to you about clear wood finish. There are tons of finishes on the market. If you've done your homework and you've gone on Google and read some reviews and clicked on the shopping section, you've found dozens, maybe hundreds of different finishes. If you've gone to the big box store, you'll find dozens of finishes. And if you talk to the guy at the big box store, he'll have his opinion. If you go to a different big box store, he'll completely negate that opinion and tell you something completely different. So it's an issue. It creates a lot of confusion. The reviews on Google, most of them, the authors, they'll have a link where you can buy the product. I'm always suspicious about those because to me, it's more about selling product than it is about giving you an honest review. So we're going to talk today. We're going to basically eliminate all these projects, and we're going to get it down to 5 clear wood finishes. The 5 basic chemistries in wood finishes, and they're all a little different, and they have different purposes, and they can be used in different situations. We'll go over each one individually. I'll give you the pros and the cons of it. We'll also talk about the how, when, and where to use it. There's a lot, but we'll simplify for it. I guarantee you by the end of it, we'll make it pretty easy. So without further ado, let's get into the first one. First let's eliminate some of this stuff though. Okay, we got, I hope all those lids are on tight, otherwise I'm gonna have a hell of a mess. All right, we got our 5 basic products. I'm gonna get set up. We'll get into it. Okay, so there's 2 categories of clear wood finishes. There's those finishes that lay on the surface, and we'll call those appropriately surface coatings, because what they do is they just bind to the surface. They're not absorbed into the wood. They don't go between the fibers. They don't really get into the pores. They just lay there. And so they're called surface coatings. Those would be polyurethane, lacquer, shellac, and varnish. Then there's those that actually penetrate into the wood and they go into the pores, they fill the pores, they go between the fibers. Those for the most part are oils, and the 2 we'll concentrate on will be Tung Oil and Linseed Oil. And we'll talk a little bit more extensively about those. But let's go back to surface coatings because that's where we're going to start. Again, there's 4 of them: polyurethane, lacquer, shellac, and varnish. And they're all a little different. Out of the 4 surface coatings, we're going to eliminate 2 right away. We're going to eliminate shellac and lacquer, and I'll tell you why. Shellac is an older finish. It really isn't stable. It melts with alcohol. If you spill alcohol on it, it just melts it. It dissolves it. If you put a hot cup of tea or coffee on it, it'll develop water rings. So we want to get rid of that. That's really not a great finish anymore. The other one is lacquer. Lacquer comes in different forms, but it's a great finish. The problem is that you need professional spray equipment to get a good job with lacquer. It's a 2-part conversion, so you have to mix it. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So for the average person, it's really not a great finish. I have spray equipment, so I'll spray it. But the other one is a can lacquer, and you probably need to stay away from this. This is very hard to control. It's hard to get a good finish off of it. I'll show you just quickly here if I can get this up. Yeah, you can see how the finish is not even. You see little dimples kind of in the surface. That's called orange peel. That's from applying the finish incorrectly, which unfortunately I did. But on larger surfaces, it's hard to do. You know, if you got little statues and little things, you want to spray it, that's fine. You can the spray can lacquer will work fine. But for the average woodworker, it's not in our arsenal. So we're going to eliminate those 2 real quick, which leaves us with polyurethane and varnish. And I'm going to talk a little bit more extensively about those 2. Let's talk about polyurethane. It's by far the biggest seller of all clear wood finishes out there. Polyurethane is very popular. It's a great finish. There's nothing wrong with it. It's durable. It's inexpensive. With a little bit of knowledge, you can make it look like a very professional finish. Now, people have a lot of problem with polyurethane. I actually made a video. I'll put a link to it up in the corner if you're one of those that need help with it. It's called Fixing Polyurethane Bubbles, Puddles, Runs, and Brush Marks, which are all common occurrences with polyurethane. Polyurethane coming out of the can is just too thick. It needs to be thin. So I explain in my two videos. I have two videos, and I'll put those on links as well, on wiping on and brushing on polyurethane. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'll show you a few samples of the two. Polyurethane is waterproof. It's heat resistant. It cleans easy. It always looks fresh. And there's really no maintenance on polyurethane. Once you apply it, it's a tough finish. It'll take a lot of abuse. I recommend using this like for kitchen tables, for desks, for floors, for stairs, for railings, window sills and sashes, chairs, bar countertops, wood trim. It's a great finish for that. So again, just you need to know a little bit about it. We always thin polyurethane. It's too thick out of the can to deliver you a good coat. So we thin it, and I show you how to thin it in the videos. So the cons of polyurethane, we talked about all the benefits. It's difficult to apply. It requires some knowledge to apply it. What I meant to say is it's difficult to repair. Once you put a scratch in polyurethane, with some of the other coatings, like oil finishes, you can just sand a little bit and then put a fresh layer of oil over that area. With polyurethane, you almost have to remove the whole surface coat on it. So it's difficult to repair. It's not food safe. So you can eat on it. I mean, I'm not saying that, but you shouldn't be cutting on it because it's a petroleum-based product and the resin is a plastic-based product. So you don't want to get, so any shavings that would come off the polyurethane are not healthy. It does off gas for about 3 to 4 weeks. So the solvent that keeps the resin in liquid form so that you can apply it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to cure all the way through. It dries to touch in a half hour. It dries to recoat in about 3 to 4 hours. I wait overnight, but it dries to recoat in about 3 to 4 hours. But it still continues to let off gases, and those gases are petroleum based. So if you're a real green person, or you can't stand odors, there's a downside to it. Polyurethane is a plastic resin, so it has a plastic look to it. And so a lot of people resent that. A lot of professional woodworkers or hobby woodworkers resent the fact that it has that plastic look to it. I don't agree with that, but I think with a proper coating and the proper procedures, you can make it look pretty darn good. It does have a little, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than a nice oil finish, but polyurethane is certainly acceptable. Now, polyurethane, I have two videos out. The one on this side was a polyurethane that I wiped on with a rag. Okay, so it didn't require any brushes. It's real easy, and it's pretty foolproof. It's pretty hard to screw this one up. The rag is best used on smaller surfaces, only because I think it's a lot easier to control with a brush on larger surfaces. And I think this is a brush on, and really, there's no difference. Okay, so this one we thin a lot more so that we can wipe it on. This one is thin like 75-25. This one's thin 50-50. So that's the big difference. And again, in the video, I'll show you how to make this, how to apply it, how to store it, all that other stuff. In this one, I'll show you how to brush it on, get your brushes ready, etc. So again, I'll put them in the corner, or it'll be on the bottom of the video. There's more about polyurethane, and you really need to know. Things like which is better, oil versus water. There's a big debate about that, but I'm going to tell you one outshines the other dramatically. How many coats do you put on? You can't just put it on one coat and lob it on, because you're going to get all kinds of mistakes. Fast dry, you know, manufacturers mark that as a good thing. It's not a good thing, trust me, and I explain why. And then there's the different sheens. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. So check out the other video. I'll put the link in the corner. You'll be wise to do it if you're going to go with polyurethane. Okay, let's talk varnish. In particular, we're going to talk about spar varnish, the outdoor variety of varnish. Spar varnish, as I mentioned earlier, is also called marine varnish, which it was used for boats. So it's a perfect outdoor water-resistant, UV-resistant finish. Like polyurethane, out of the can, it's too thick, so we have to thin it. Be sure I'll put a link to my video, the ultimate guide to bubble-free varnishing. Make sure you watch it. There is a little technique that needs to be done. There's some thinning procedures that we need to follow, etc. But it's applied very much like polyurethane, and it's brushed on in ultra-thin coats. Spar varnish is a softer finish than polyurethane. Polyurethane is very brittle. Doesn't expand and contract very much. It will give a little bit, but not a whole heck of a lot. Whereas spar varnish has that soft flexibility that allows it, what happens is wood, in the summertime, it absorbs moisture, so it expands, much like a sponge would. In the wintertime, when it dries out, that moisture dissipates from the wood, and the wood contracts. So there's a lot of movement, especially when you put wood outside, because the temperatures vary and the humidity varies so much outside versus inside. If you look at your floors, there's a good example. In the summertime, your floors contract and the gap between the floors actually open up. You can see a wider gap. In the summertime, that wood swells, and so the gap closes. So wood moves, spar varnish moves with it. Because it's so flexible, one of the great properties is repairability. So if for some reason your varnish peels or cracks or chips or is dented or scratched or whatever, it is relatively easy to repair. Versus polyurethane, where if that happens to polyurethane, we almost have to remove the whole coat of the polyurethane in order to get a decent finish on it. So getting to see the picture now, we have an indoor variety, which will be polyurethane, and we have an outside or exterior variety, which will be our spar or marine varnish. Okay, the next thing we're going to start to move over into our oil finishes. Whereas our surface coatings are tough and durable and okay in appearance, our penetrating finishes are going to be a little less durable, but beautiful in appearances. So we're gonna move now into our penetrating oils. So if you're looking for a really luxurious finish, you want to stay tuned. Okay, so let's go on to our next category. Those will be oils. We're going to talk about penetrating oils, oils that are used on wood. Oils, by far, are the most luxurious finish that you can put on wood. They enhance the grain. They improve the texture. They completely change the feel. Polyurethane's a nice finish. I mean, it's a nice finish. That's this one over here. But it's kind of like when you rub your hand over it, it's a little plasticky. If I come over here, this happens to be an oil finish. It's just it just has a much more nicer sheen, a nicer feel to it. I think the grain pops better on it. It's just really a luxurious finish, and it's very easy to apply too. But you have to know a little bit about it. Now, I'm going to put a link up in one of the corners to the two oils that we're going to put in our arsenal. One will be Tung Oil and one will be Linseed Oil, and so I'll have a link to each of those. It's just a little tricks that you need to know, little tips and tricks that you need to know about applying it. It's, as I said, it's easily to apply. So go to my website, read those articles before you. Let's talk about linseed oil today. Linseed oil is made from flaxseed, and when it comes out, it's classified as raw linseed oil. Raw linseed oil is not a good product because it's not user-friendly. It's too thick. It's very slow to dry. It's not waterproof, and it's subject to mildew and rot. So it's not the perfect finish. Over the years, though, woodworkers, chemists, carpenters, whoever, found ways to modify the oil. And what they did is they because it was so thick, they added thinners. Because it was slow to dry, they added heavy metal stabilizer and mildew retarders. So it made it a product that's usable. Linseed oil, it's this one here. The problem that I have with linseed oil, it's very inexpensive. Again, it's easy. It's the staple of many woodworkers' arsenal. The problem that I have with linseed oil, boiled linseed oil, is that each manufacturer processes it a little differently. They put a little bit more of this, a little less of this, a little this. And by the time you come out, if you put two different brands next to one another, they'll have different appearances. So it's not consistent. But it's a nice finish, and it's inexpensive. So it's in a lot of woodworkers' arsenals, and a lot of woodworkers, once they find a good brand that they like and they like the finish, they stay with that brand, and so they get the consistency that they need to the finish, so they know what the outcomes will be. Okay. All right. Linseed oil, inexpensive, a good oil, produces a nice finish, adds a little color to the wood, but a nice color. So that's going to be in our arsenal. If you want fast and cheap, boiled linseed oil is the way to go. Okay, and this is take number 1. How do I look? I look good. Okay, let's talk about the 4th finish in our arsenal, and this is my all-time favorite finish. It just beats everything else. You know, it's insane. Okay, it's tung oil, and this one under my chin here is tung oil. So let's see, polyurethane, where the light is shining. Tung oil, where the light is shining. Linseed oil, where the light is shining. And this happens to be my combo finish, which we're going to talk about last. So I'm saving the best for last. But we're going to talk today about tung oil. Look at, you see polyurethane? I mean, the wrap on polyurethane it's a nice finish. It's a good finish. It's a very durable finish, but it's plasticky. And this is a satin polyurethane where the light is. This is tung oil where the light is. And I mean, you talk about satin. This is satin. Look at the grain. Look how nice and even everything is. I mean, this is not a bad finish, the polyurethane, but come on, seriously? Look at, whoa. Huge. All right, so, tung oil. What are the advantages? It's waterproof. It's chemical resistant. It's heat resistant. It's UV resistant. It's mildew resistant. It's food safe. It's easy to apply. Yeah. Okay, so you apply it with a rag. It does take a little bit of knowledge because it has to be applied in coats. So, you put on one coat and then let it dry, and then the next coat and blah, blah, blah. So each coat is thinned a little differently for penetrability. So we start off at 70%, 50%, 30%, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to put a link. You need to watch the video. It's not a video, actually. It will be a video soon, but right now it's on my website. So I'll put a link, linking it to the website with complete detailed instructions. It is a little tricky, so make sure you watch it. The bad thing about tung oil, and I'll show you how we improve that, is it's slow to dry and it's thick out of the can, so it has to be thin. So what they did is, where BLO, they started putting chemicals in it. What happened with tung oil is there's products on the market, and be careful of this, there's products on the market called tung oil finish. It says right on the can, finish. That means that they can do anything they want to the tung oil. It's not pure tung oil, it's not polymerized tung oil, it's a finish. So whatever manufacturer picked it up, they added thinners, they might add varnish. I've been told that, and I'm not a chemist, but I've been told that some of the finishes don't even have any tung oil in them. So stay away from that stuff. So that leaves us with pure tung oil and polymerized tung oil. So let's talk about pure tung oil first. Pure tung oil is applied in multiple coats, and each coat is thinned a little differently, so you have to be a little careful, but you can see the article. It's relatively slow to dry, and that's where kind of the issue comes in. Sometimes it can take a few days to dry. So what you have to do is you put it on. We put it on kind of thick. We wait till it starts to soak in, and then we wipe off the excess, and then we wait for it to dry. And depending on temperature and humidity, it could be 24 hours. More realistically, it can take 2 to 3 days, up to a week to dry. So that's the downside, and that's why a lot of people went to BLO versus tung oil. New process now. It's called polymerization. And so what a few manufacturers do is they take pure tung oil and then they superheat it. What the superheating does is it speeds up it changes it chemically, and it speeds up the dry time. So now this stuff dries within 48 hours. So you can go the next day and pretty much you're safe to do a little light sanding and then apply your next coat. So we still thin it. There's still some thinners in it, and it is food safe once the thinners evaporate. And the thinners will evaporate, within a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on temperature and humidity. So once it off gases completely and all those thinners are gone, then it's completely food safe. So you could cut into it. The other thing is, speaking of cutting into it, tung oil is real easy to repair. I mean, so if you do cut into it and you can sand it out, you can fix it up a little bit, and then you just put another fast coat on it, and you don't have to do the whole thing. You just coat it, and it's real simple. It's real easy. So it's just a great finish. I mean, the texture, the beauty, the grain pattern, the colors. It's the way to go if you have the option. It's a little more pricey because of the processing that's done on it, but definitely worth it. Okay, so put that in your arsenal. Now we got 4. We've got the 2 surface coatings. We've got polyurethane for indoor use, spar varnish for outdoor use. We've got BLO for an inexpensive finish, fast. We've got tung oil, either pure or polymerized, for a little more pricey finish, but definitely a step up luxury-wise in the finish. So, all right, and the next we're going to talk about will be my very own special concoction. It's called Paul's Combo Finish, I guess, for lack of a better term. But basically, we use a little bit of a spar varnish, and then we use a little bit of tung oil, and we make our own finish. And it's a wipe-on finish. It's easy, it's fast, and it really produces a nice, durable, and luxurious finish. Okay, I'll come back and we'll talk about that. Okay, so the final finish, the 5th finish in our arsenal, is actually a combination. We talked about the luxury of tung oil. We talked about the warmth, the beauty, and the durability of spar varnish. So what we're going to do is make our own finish, and we're going to combine the two, and that's this one on the end here. And you can see it has a little bit of a sheen to it. It's a satin sheen. It still has nice grain appearance. It's not quite as soft as, because again we've got some alkyd resins in here, but it's still a nice finish and a nice looking finish and a very durable finish. And so this is our combo finish. It can be used in or outdoors, so it's good anywhere. And basically all it is we use a 50-50 mix of tung oil based spar varnish and polymerized tung oil. We mix them up and apply them with a rag. It is going to be my very next video, so keep an eye open for it. I will start it next week, and you'll have it in your arsenal. Okay, that wraps it up. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate that. Comment. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear, a little bit about you and a little bit about your project. I'd also like to hear how your project went. If you have questions, be sure to ask. I'm good about that. I'm retired now, so my first thing in the morning is after I check my emails, I go to my questions, and I'll answer questions, and then I'll do it again in the evening. So be sure to go to my website. On my website, you'll find a lot of information. Most of the videos that I produce, I also produce a blog about it. And in the article, you'll find a lot of useful information, more so than you will on the video. There's also a tab there called PDF cheat sheets, and in the cheat sheets, I'll have different printable PDF sheets that you can use as guides. So while you're working, you can almost use that as a step-by-step format. For this video, I have a comparison chart. So it goes through the 5 finishes that we just talked about, and it talks about water resistance, durability, practicality, beauty, application ease, indoor or outdoor, water resistance, blah, blah, blah. So you'll have kind of a summary of all the information. So please do that. Again, thanks for watching. Again, subscribe and let me hear from you. Thanks. Happy woodworking. Hope your project turns out well. I'm sure it will. Just remember, woodworking is a combination of time and it's a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of time, and a lot of patience. So happy woodworking.